Want to become the most well-known mortgage broker in your community? Listen up. I'm going to share with you 3 steps to do that. This conversation or this podcast actually came from a conversation I had a friend with mine who is moved to a new community. He actually moved from Canada to the US. And he's like, Scott, how would you, if you were me living in my community, make yourself the most well-known mortgage broker? And I said, I got a plan for you. This is exactly what I would do. And within 18 to 24 months, you would be for sure the most well-known broker in your community. If that sounds interesting, you're going to want to listen to this episode. I'm going to show you a couple things. First, I'm going to show you how to use the most high-profile people in your area to build your own brand. I'm going to talk about how to leverage that in order to build massive trust and rapport with the people that are connecting with you. And then finally, I'm going to show you how to leverage the heck out of it and build a list on top of it. Hey, I'm Scott Beckford. This is my weekly 10 to 12 minute podcast where I share with you specific tactics you can apply in your mortgage business. And I love these shows. They're short to the point. And before I jump into this episode, I want to give a shout out to our title sponsor, Finmo. Finmo is a Canadian mortgage application, document collection, submission platform designed specifically for Canadian borrowers. It's very easy for borrowers to use. It's got cool features like Smart Docs. It knows what docs your client needs based on their app. It's got smart submission notes. It pulls key data from the application once you get ready to hit submit, and it's connected to Lender Spotlight, which is the best tool for searching rates and guidelines. And they got some cool features in there, AI and compare my offer. Check them out at lendesk.com/Finmo. Ask for a tour. All right. So how do you become the most well-known mortgage broker in your community? So obviously, one of the first things I have to do with this is we've got to talk about podcasting. Podcasting for me has opened so many doors, has introduced me to so many amazing people. And even before I was podcasting, there was my timer, it was going on the side. Even before I was podcasting, I was doing radio, and I found the exact same thing. So because you become a media brand, and with media, you get access to people you wouldn't otherwise get. So the first thing I would do is I would create a show, a podcast in your community where around a specific region or a specific client type, a couple ideas. So my brother started a podcast called Investing in Calgary Real Estate, which has done really well for him as a real estate agent in the Calgary market. There's another guy in Toronto who's got one called True Condo. I don't know how well the condo market is in Toronto right now, but it's basically a podcast about condos in the Toronto market. And back in the heyday, in the boom, he got access to all the developers and the builders, and he would get in there and get his clients in there. And it gave him a massive advantage over all of his competitors. And so the key is you're going to create something. When I talked to him, he lives in an area where there's 3 kind of main, and we ended up deciding on using the airport code. So I'm in YVR. So in my case, there's a few other communities other than Kelowna. If I wanted to be well known in multiple communities, I'd probably be like, I love YVR real estate. By the way, that domain I don't own it. If you want to get it. And then I would use that to leverage, because people who are local know what that is, right? So YVR, whatever the YLW is Calgary. And so you could use something like that. That's what we decided on. It's for his community. I'm not going to tell you the name of his community just to give him a chance to get this going. And so then you want to go to interview high profile guests. So when I had a podcast in my community, I want to talk to the biggest developers, the biggest realtors, the biggest city planners. I had the mayor on my show. You get them, all these high profile people that you can get, big, well-known business people talking about their first real estate investment. And even if these people never use you for mortgages, doesn't matter. The point that you actually get access to them, you're going to, by notoriety, by getting to know them, and if you're even remotely likable, they're probably going to start liking you, and they'll probably do business with you eventually, even if they don't right away. But even if they don't, if other people see you with them, they go, oh, wow, this person must be well connected. So you get this sort of association effect. You get fame by association by the people you hang around with. And then you're going to leverage that to basically, and then you're going to take that show. So it could be a 20, 30 minute show. And I would encourage you to make the show structured so that it's similar for people listening. It's very easy for you to do. So you have the same types of questions you ask, make it really simple. And right now with ChatGPT, man, you can go create so many questions. It's not even funny. And then you just find the best ones. In any case, you create this format of a show. You record it by video and audio like I do with this one. And then you can take that show and you can get somebody to cut and clip it and share it all over social. And then people are going to see you as, oh my gosh, he's talking to the mayor. He's talking to the biggest developer in town. He's talking to this person. And keep in mind, everybody wants media attention. Everybody wants attention. If you can get this thing going, I mean, you may have to start off with some of the lower profile people, but over time, if you continue at it, you'll be able to get access to people that you could not get access to. So the bigger your show gets, the more high profile guests you'll get. So over time, you'll be able to get the people you can't get today who say no to you today. Don't worry about it. You'll get them eventually. Just in your mind, you got to be like, doesn't matter. I'll get you eventually. because once you get big enough, they will want to come be on your show. So that's the first step. Step one is you create an interview style. The second step is to actually then, how do I leverage that to build massive trust with my audience? And there's two, and for them to know that I'm a mortgage broker is one thing to do a podcast if it's on real estate, but they're like, who cares? And so there's two ways you do that. You create a solo show that fits in around your interview show, because an interview show should really be 60 to 70% them and 20 to 30% you. It shouldn't be you talking all the time in most cases, because people are there not for you, they're there for them. And unless you're really good, they're going to be annoyed if you're doing too much talking. So you really should be there to make them, put the spotlight on them, not on you. Not be like, oh, well, that's a funny story. Listen to don't be trying to one up them. You'll be a terrible podcast host and nobody's going to want to come on your show. So make them the hero on the show, but that's okay. So how do I make people know that if I'm not talking about mortgages, how do they know what I do? Well, easy. First one is you create a solo show that you run. What I'm doing right now, this tactical 10-minute podcast. I do interviews with people like Ron Butler. I just dropped this week. He's a high profile guy in our area in the Canadian market. People want to hear what he has to say. He's funny as heck too. If you haven't listened to that show, by the way, go back and listen to it. And so I talk to him, but then in between, I do these shorter tactical shows. And I can tell you, I hired a podcast coach last year. These short tactical episodes where you go deep get more engagement. They get more downloads. They drop because people get to know you. They're like, oh, I like this person, or I don't. I'm going to go somewhere else. Either way, it's good. So you create a solo show where you go around specific topics. So there's an interview show, there's a solo show. And then the other way you do it is you put dynamic ads. So you use the right type of software for this. For creating your podcast, you can actually drop dynamic ads. So let's say you got a webinar or something coming up. Hey, it's Scott Beckford. Welcome to the YLW show. I'm just making this crap up right now. Come to the YLW show. And next week, I'm hosting a podcast on the 5 mistakes people make when buying real estate in Calgary. If you want to get on that, go here to get on the list for the webinar. I can change that with the dynamic ad. If I've got 100 shows right now, I got 600 shows. Somebody goes back and listens to episode 2. I can put an ad on episode 2 from today. So it's absolutely powerful and if you have good content, people are going to go back and listen to it. So then you can drop those ads in. And so you set that up. So you create dynamic ads. So the 2 ways people actually get to know you is through your solo shows and your dynamic ads. They know what you do. And then the third thing you have to do, if you want to leverage the heck out of this, is you need to build an email list. And so email lists are I have made more money as I've got podcasts, 1 million plus downloads. I don't even know. I haven't checked the last time I checked. We're way past 1 million downloads. 10 years we've been doing this. And I have made the vast majority of my money by having an email list, by being able, when I have an event, when I have something that I want to, when I find something awesome, like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. You guys got to check this out. Boom. The email is where the money's at. And so if you're going to play, this is the long game. When you're creating a podcast or a show, any kind of this long form content, look at Alex Hormozy. He started this years ago. Now the guy he's everywhere, but he didn't start this with, I got to make money next week. That's the problem with mortgage brokers. We just hey, I made some calls. Where's my deal? Hey, I made some content. Where's my deal? Don't be stupid. That's not going to happen. You need to stick to this for the long term, and it will be so ridiculously profitable because most people won't, that it'll give you 10 times more value than you could even imagine. I've made more money from creating this podcast than I could even imagine when I started it. And I did it for 18 months and I did not get a single nickel for it. I paid money every month to get it produced for me because I didn't produce a single episode. That's a bad idea. So anyway, so you do that, set this thing up. You set up your show. You have high profile guests. You make it regional. You have them, the bigger the profile, the better. You cut those in clips. You share them all over the place. Hopefully they share your clips. If they don't, doesn't matter because you're still getting seen with them from your network. Everybody in your network's like, oh my gosh, Scott's now a baller. He's like, he's look at the people he's connecting with, right? Create the dynamic ads and the solo shows to fit around so you can talk about your topic in a way that's interesting. And if those are good, that's where you're going to build a lot more trust and rapport. Then finally build an email list. And so I kind of jumped. Yeah, whatever. I'm getting to the point today. I promise you'll get to it. So, the email list, I'm telling you, is absolutely critical. And so because people will come listen to your show for a while, then they're going to get distracted. But if they're on your email list and you're sending them value every single week, then you can always reach out to them. And the thing about mortgages, if you sell mortgages, you know this, they don't need you. It's not like an impulse product. It's not like when you're on Instagram, 10 o'clock at night and you see this plug-in disco ball that you must have. By the way, I actually bought one. I bought 2 because I was like, well, I need this. So I buy this damn disco ball. I don't know why I have it. It's awesome. And so You can't do that with a mortgage. So there is no click to buy button. However, if you get their contact information and when they're ready, they will work with you and be like, oh yeah, I totally work with this person because I remember them. So you have to build an email list, and if you look at Morning Brew, which is this massive email that started, I think in 2015, this guy, he sold it for $75 million. And it was just an email list. That's it. They send with this email. So you want to create something that people are going to want. So if it's in your community, it could be some kind of a guide, a download, cheat sheet for something that if I'm in your community, I would want this, right? And then they'll be like, oh, I want that. And you talk about it on your show. And then people are going to go, oh, I'm going to go get that email. I'm going to go get that. Now you have their contact info. Now you can market to them ongoing and build your list. So if you don't build the list, though, what's going to happen is you're going to get some listeners. And then the other part with the list is you can push people back to the show that forget. Maybe they don't come for a while. And then you send it an episode. They go, oh, that sounds interesting. Now they're back to listening again. So you have to build an email list. So that's it. You'd stick to that for 18 months. And if I moved to your community tomorrow, this is exactly what I would do. I would, and I said to him, he doesn't have any podcast equipment or anything. I said, look, he's in a bigger city. I said, I guarantee you in your community, there's somewhere you can actually just rent a podcast studio once a month. So in terms of the functionality of this, once a month, you rent this studio, you have guests come in back to back, you record your 4 episodes, right? You're like, bang, bang, bang. You spread them out. In between, you record your short, you write down, you script out or plan out your solo shows, and then you bang those off in between. You give them to somebody to edit them. They edit them, publish them for you, push them everywhere, and off you go. You spend 1 day a month creating all of your content for the month. And it absolutely would make you the most famous mortgage broker in a very short period of time. And here's the thing I know. Most of you are going to listen to this and go, oh my gosh, Scott, this is a great idea. I love this. Love it, love it. And a few of you, a small number of you are actually going to do this. They're going to hear this and go, ding, 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 Scott, I am going to freaking do this tomorrow. And here's what I'm going to ask you. If you do, A, kudos to you for taking action. B, when you've been doing this for 3-6 months and you actually reach out to me, I want to hear from you. Say, hey, Scott, I did your thing. Here's what happened. Because here's what I know is going to happen. You're going to take the best ideas I have to give you. You're going to apply your own little brain and genius to it. And you're going to find some twist and tweak that I didn't see. And often one of my beliefs is you give your best ideas to smart people and then they come back to you and they have a better idea. You're like, oh my gosh, this is even better. So when you do, reach out to me. I would love to do a chat with, maybe I'll have you on my podcast or something at some point, but either way, I'd love to chat with you about how you've actually applied this to your market to become the most well-known, famous mortgage broker in your community and then leverage the heck out of it and print the money. Thanks for listening. And I'm looking forward. My buddy will execute on this. So I know that my friend, he's a really good friend of mine. I know he will execute the heck out of this and will crush it. I will have him on and get him to share when he gets further down the road on this. But thanks for listening. As I always say, there's no problem in your mortgage business that someone else hasn't already solved. Your problem is who's got the answer. Hopefully you find a few of those answers anyway on this podcast. And thanks for listening. This is the I Love Mortgage Brokering podcast. I'm your host, Scott Peckford, and I will see you on the next episode.